And I'll stop nibbling on my.
Friendly giant. That's what it was. Friendly giant.
All right. So did everybody have a good week?
Yes.
Good. What's really cool is that what was week 7 about? Does anyone remember? Yes, you just yell
I'm
it
gonna be
out.
honest.
Yes,
The week-
communicate.
The week got away from me. I did not watch week 7. It got
Okay.
us. Like,
Well, it's about
yesterday, I
sellers.
was like, oh my
Sellers.
God.
It's about
Thursday.
sellers. Yeah, it's okay. It's about sellers.
Communication.
What?
Communication and sellers.
It's about
Oh.
disc, the disc profile.
Disc. Oh, boy, howdy, has that opened a can of worms?
Well, and it's basically about, I mean, Kristen reached out to me and said she wanted to talk about sellers, about becoming a better seller's agent. I always recommend to anybody that's newer in the business that they go through RAMP, focus on building a foundation of the basics. Of course, week 7, we'll talk about sellers. And there's intermixture in there about different things that affect sellers and buyers the same. But yes, if you really want to specialize in sellers, then you should be also watching SLAM. And it is very easy to watch them both at the same time if you're really committed to learning, newer skill sets as it relates to moving your business from being buyer-based to being seller-based. Okay. So I mean, I can't say enough about the importance of it. A lot of people will say, I don't like working with sellers, and I'll ask why, and they'll say, because I don't like dealing with their moods or their emotions or whatever. But let's be honest, in residential real estate, much more than in commercial, we deal with moods and emotions. We don't have to deal with statistics as much. I was born into the Bay Area, not knowing when I was born that it was going to be overwrought with engineers and engineer thinking. You know, I'm in the technology capital of the world. And yes, a lot of the buyers you bump into have a behavioral style that's over on the other side, like S or C, but a lot of C, and believe it or not, a lot of D, right? And there's nothing more scary than a DC to me. But a DC is, I want everything done now and perfectly, right? Like those are two very difficult things to accomplish at one time. So behavioral styles are very important. Let's look real quickly at what they did in the first one. In the first video, let's see, that was, I'm trying to think who that was talking. Let's see, hold on, I'll find it in a second.
As it is about property.
Yeah, it's Tammy.
Having good
Yep.
social skills is essential to your success as
Yeah.
an agent. After all,
I love that she starts out with social skills, but the main thing there is understanding the way to communicate with people. And I remember teaching a class about probably, I want to say it was probably 2004 or 5 at a Keller Williams convention. And they said we were supposed to be talking back then, early in the days, my average sale price was higher than a lot of other people's average sale price, but only because I was in Northern California. And so they asked me out of nowhere to be a panelist on a luxury panel. And I'm like, I don't really sell luxury. And they go, yes, you do. Look at your average sale price. I go, well, in my area, the average sale price for luxury is much higher than what I sell. My price compared to your price for a regular sales family might look like luxury, but it's not. But I had taken a few listings over $1 million back then when the average sale price was 400,000. And what I stood up on stage and said is everybody's mansion is their mansion. Everybody's mobile home is their mansion. Everybody's mansion is their mansion. You go, well, that makes a lot of common sense. What are you talking about? I go, seriously, that everybody wants to be treated like their home. To you, the real estate agent is special, and that you are going to present it as special. So one of the things that won me a lot of listings is I would say when I came in is, I'm not just going to market your home the way I market all my listings, because your home isn't like all my listings. Right? Fact is, I was marketing their home pretty much like all my listings. And I wasn't necessarily lying, but I was saying that we were going to approach a different marketplace as much as were possible. And one thing I used to do in the early days when I was becoming a strong listing agent is I would find what buyer agents represented the buyers on listings in the price range or the neighborhood I had, which was really easy to do. Look at all the comps, see who the buyer's agent was, and give them a call. Hey, where did that buyer come from? Oh, it was referred by a friend. Call another agent. Hey, where did that buyer come from? Oh, that buyer called me because he wanted that zip code. He wanted that neighborhood. And find out why, right? So we know in Fremont, we have an area called the Mission San Jose School District. That school district, everybody wants to live in. And when the market is plummeting, homes in Mission San Jose still sell. When the market's taking off, homes in Mission San Jose sell quicker than anything. Homes in Mission San Jose sell all the time, period, regardless of the market, because of the schools. So lot to say about how we get to work with sellers on that. And it is very important that the more you educate yourself on the DISC or some way of understanding behavioral patterns, the better you will be at working with sellers, because you'll be able to come into the room and immediately start to identify who you're talking to. Now, we have Beth on the phone, and I often rave about her and her husband. Beth, because Beth has been a realtor for a long time, she's been a singer, dancer, and entertainer for a long time, but she also had a stint with my wife in her business, and it was so important to them to meet people where they were at. In other words, understand. In fact, Beth and Letitia were both in that same business, but understand what, where, when you said you're going to meet people where they're at, is to learn to understand the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is directly opposed to the golden rule. The golden rule is treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself. The platinum rule is treat others as they'd like to be treated. And how the hell are you going to find that out? By asking them.
Mhm.
So why not, when you walk into a listing appointment, say, Mr. Massar, I'm so honored that you picked me as one of the people you're going to talk to about selling probably one of your most valued assets as you go through life. Let me ask you this. A lot of people come in and they want to do if you'll excuse the term, a dog and pony show and present to you. And what I find is that I don't really know what to present. In other words, I can't be the answer to what you're praying for, right? I can't be the answer to your prayers till I know what you're praying for. Or I can't be the answer to your wishes until I know what you're wishing for. So if you don't mind, let's start off by saying, what are the 4 things that are most important to you about the person you picked to sell your home? Now, what are we doing? We're asking the questions. They're giving us the answers. And when they give us the answers, they're telling you how they want you to be to list their home, right? So there isn't any wrong ways to win a listing. If you want a listing, it worked. It's either works or it doesn't work. So it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just, did it work? And when it didn't work and you say, oh, not only did it not work, it crashed and burned. Okay, I'm never going to say that again. So as you think about your experiences, how many of you here, besides Sherry, I'm going to exclude her right now, have been on a listing appointment? Ever? Okay. Okay, good. So
I've
one,
just been
two,
on one.
okay. What, Letitia?
Yeah, I've been on one. I went with a different agent.
Okay, good.
I just did one on Wednesday.
You did. Okay. Were you on your own or with someone? A mentor or
by
by
myself.
yourself? Okay, cool. Can you tell me how it went?
It was good. I wish I had that little gem that you dropped there. But instead of asking them what they wanted in an agent, I asked them what outcome they wanted for their property.
That's beautiful.
So I said I have a lot of tools in my tool belt. It's a probate sale because that's my specialty.
Mhm.
And so I said, do you want it gone fast? Do you want the highest price, or do you just, whatever? I gave them a whole range. I said, do you want to fix it up to get even more of a higher price? So they just said, we don't want to do anything, but we want the highest, best price possible. So I said, okay, well, that gives me a good direction on where to go and stuff. So It was good. I'm pretty sure I got it. They didn't sign because they don't have the authority to sign yet. They don't have the letters yet.
Yeah.
But
But you're probably gonna get it.
what I said was, I said, I know you're probably viewing other agents, and they said, yeah, we talked to a couple. One was too lackadaisical. One was way too aggressive. He said, you seem to be about right, not too lackadaisical, not too aggressive.
Yeah.
And I said, we'll tell you what, why don't you email me all your information, and then when you get the letters, I'll have all the forms pre-filled out, and so we can just go, because they've been waiting on their letters. There's been a delay, so they're kind of getting anxious. So they sent me all their information to fill out the forms. So I take that as I won the listing.
Nice. I like that a lot. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you remember the three bears, what was it, the porridge story? Come on,
Yeah.
help me out here. I'm almost 65,
Yeah.
but one wanted the porridge, one was too
Too
hot,
hot,
one
too
was
soft, and just
cold.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and one was perfect. So good for you for finding the medium of the road. And I will always find that middle of the road always tends to win more. You
Yeah.
win, what is it? You attract more flies with sugar than vinegar. And the other thing too is that you can fall into a trap. Remember, everything I say is not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. But I established every time I would lose a listing, I would create a new rule for myself. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Mhm.
Because I'd say, what was it that I could have done that if I had the opportunity, Mr. and Ms. Seller, to work with you at another time, what would I have done differently to earn your business? Most of the time they did not answer. Okay, so I would calculate for myself. So one of the things that I'm pretty sure, because I didn't hear it from them, but I heard from somebody that sent me to them, that they thought I was too critical of their home. And I thought, I never said one critical word. And then you know what resonated with me later? I thought, oh, that's right. Just before I left, they said, hey, would you mind sharing with us what you think we should do with our home if we were to hire you and to get it prepared for listing? Up until then, I've been, ooh, you know. And even when the room looked like crap, I would say, oh my God, the size of this room is so nice, or the light coming in from the window. I would say something that didn't relate to how messy or how ugly it might have been, or the color of the paint. I would find a reason to compliment. You get it? Like you can walk up to the biggest piece of crap house ever and say, oh my gosh, I love the neighborhood you live in.
Mhm.
Complimenting the house without complimenting the house.
Mhm.
Okay. So what did I do? That was my new rule. I changed my script and I've taught it to hundreds of thousands of people. I said, when you go to a listing and someone says, great, we really love talking to you. And while we haven't picked you yet, could you walk around with us really quickly and tell us what you'd have us do? And I go, actually, I got a little better plan than that. When you call me and say, I'm going to be listing your home, I'll come over on the day that I do the listing paperwork, and I'll spend a specific hour going in the room by room with you and telling you what I advise. And you know what? Everybody loves that when I give that idea. I've never had one person reject that idea.
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't always win the listing, but I also didn't lose it because I didn't ooh and ah enough. And I used to, in my listing presentation classes, I always say the person who oohs and ahs the most wins the listing, because I truly believe that if you would find the most things to be, excited about, enthusiastic, right? So excited to represent your home, right? And I still say that, and I'm not full of crap, but man, when I go into a super, like one of the guys on my team, his relative owned a winery. And while they're closing down the winery, the estate that the winery is on in this town called Castro Valley, California, is gorgeous, right? 10 acres, 3 or 4 different buildings, some garages, some this, some that. It's just beautiful. I'm just so excited to represent that sale. So if you're expressing that enthusiasm, unbridled, authentic, vulnerable, you can hardly ever lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I go to visit Beth and Paul in Northridge, California, they actually live in a little section of Northridge called Sherwood Forest, believe it or not. I like to say that Beth is Robin Hood, and she lives in Sherwood Forest. But it's the average age in their neighborhood, other than Paul and Beth, and all of the newer people moving in is really close to dead. So, and they've got a lot of that, right? And I'm like, Beth and Paul work amazingly well with seniors. They're patient, they're kind. There's a lot of people in the Northridge area and all of that Southern California Valley that have had some history in the entertainment industry. You know, Paul was a, Beth, what did we call him? A film what?
He was a film agent for Below the Line.
Yeah, film agent, and he set design. He did all kinds of amazing things in his career. And Beth was an entertainer and still is actually. But so they can speak that language to the people who want to speak it, but they're also in their 60s, so they can speak that language if that's the language they need to speak. So I just say they're living in the perfect neighborhood for developing a farm and creating long-lasting business there, right? We're trying to tell them to leave that farm and move to Pacific Grove with me and Casey, but they're not listening right now. So anyway, so long story short, as we look at the seller game, and I'm going to shut up for a minute, but I get so excited about the seller chapter because it's an integral part of business. And people say, well, should I give up my buyers? No, you should also work with sellers as much as possible, especially if you're an individual agent. And I believed it so much that while most teams that are in the business, hey, look at this there, Kyle. While most teams that are in the business don't want their buyer's agents representing sellers, I tell my buyers that one of my buyer's agents is the one who got us the $3.8 million winery listing. And then I'm going to a $3.1 million listing with another buyer's agent today. I don't care. Let's all learn to work so that we get all the business, not some of it. Does that make sense? So, Rochelle, one of the things that when I first heard you speak about your neighborhood and your presence in the neighborhood, what came to my mind was this girl is going to be the top listing agent in that town, right? And you have that positioning to be able to do it. You just have to kind of launch, right? You really have to get to where you're I used to be called the mayor of Fremont. I wasn't ever the mayor, but when I'd go to basketball, to play basketball at 5 in the morning with a bunch of guys that all lived in the area, not anybody I knew other than at basketball, they'd say, oh, here comes the mayor. Why? I never said that. All I did was be omnipresent. I would MC charity events in the community so that my name would be in the paper just because I emceed the charity event. Rick Jiha, local realtor and philanthropist. I couldn't believe the first time the newspaper said I was a philanthropist. I hadn't given away one penny. All I gave away is time, lots and lots of time. But I guess in the end, that means you're a philanthropist, right? I won Citizen of the Year twice. I would get calls from the presidents of boards and presidents of school districts saying, I want you to sell my house. I go, oh my God, that's so nice of you. I know you know a lot of realtors. And they go, I know a lot of realtors, but I don't know as many realtors that give back to the community like you do, right? And how was I giving back? I wasn't the guy with the clippers picking up trash on the side of the street that so many of my friends were doing as a way of giving back. I was the guy in a suit and tie in front of the microphone, you know, speaking. But that was my way of giving back. So find your niche, fill it, right? So it's really like you're capable of becoming. Look, Kevin, I thought Letitia, just my personal feelings, would be great at probate because she has a business mind. She's very savvy that way. Have you two ever met other than on here? Okay, well,
No.
he's in Southern California, Letitia. I would brainstorm with Kevin about
Okay.
that probate stuff, you know, since you guys are both EXP, you're both in my organization, you know, you guys can,
Excellent.
yeah. So just a thought, like that's what I love about this group is that it's kind of going. So let's talk a little bit, Kevin. I loved at the beginning of the call, you were honest. All of a sudden it was Thursday and I hadn't watched any of the videos. Let's talk about, but you got a listing appointment this week, right? You're on mute, buddy.
Yeah, because I was preparing for my listing appointment, because it also includes land. this
Okay,
one.
the
So I got
the
a
listing
house
does?
and land up in Tehachapi somewhere.
Nice, okay. And I sell a lot
So-
of land, right? So I'm happy, Kevin, she gave you her phone number.
Oh,
Dan,
cool.
Blonde's giving you phone number right on the ramp call, dude.
I got that effect on people. I got that effect.
All right. So, yeah, so the week does get away from you, doesn't it? And do we ever do this? This question is not just pointed at Kevin, it's pointed at everybody. Do we ever get too wrapped up in a project? Raise your hand if you've ever done that. And you're looking for perfection, not progress, or you're looking for perfection, not excellence, right? Just a little more excellent than before. Beth, go ahead, sweetheart.
I just raised my hand, Rick. I get involved in so many other projects and lose my focus constantly. That 30, setting the timer for 30 minutes is what I have to do more often.
Yeah, good. And look at that. Where'd you get that, Cher? So Beth, you didn't get one of those, but I bet Casey has probably one more left over somewhere, but that's what we sent everybody in our front line last year. A 30, is it 30 minutes, isn't it, Sherry? Purple is our color, but it's a 30-minute timer. So when you flip the sand over, they call them what, hourglass is what they're called, right? But this is a half hourglass. Yeah, Tom, look at you. It's disappearing in your fake background, Tom.
I know. It bothers me, but I love this thing, Rick. This is the coolest thing. A timepiece is not only, or an hourglass is not only a symbol, but it is 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a great reminder. So I love this thing. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Great.
so many people gave Casey kudos because it was all her. And she wrote that thing that started with the words from Days of Our Lives, something like that.
As
Just like the sands through an hour. Yeah.
The hourglass, so are the days of our lives. Yeah.
Right. So she had a lot of fun with that. She's coming up with something she's already come up with it for this year too. So we'll see that. But anyway, long story short, the understanding that your day can get away from you is really why chapter 1 and 2 of this whole ramp is the one that I personally look at over and over again for myself, for a reminder. We're always trying to do more things than we have the capability of doing. Multitasking truly doesn't work. You might like to believe it does, but I have proof that it doesn't because I leave a wake of errors in my trail, if you will, because of working on multitasking. And I pissed off a $3.2 million seller yesterday because of that, so because I multitasked, forgot to write one thing down when he was telling me on the phone. And I got busy trying to return someone's text while he was telling me that on the phone, and I forgot to write that part down. But when he reminded me of it in a pissed off way last night at 11 p.m. by text, and I woke up at 1:30 in the morning to give my dog some medication and saw it, I laid awake staring at the ceiling for 45 more minutes before I could fall asleep. Not a good thing, not at 2 in the morning, all right? So lot to be said about that. The one thing I love is that I'm making mistakes that haven't so far been devastating, but are ones that give me subtle reminders that I can continue to be a little bit sharper with being present, okay, allotting a certain amount of time for a project, setting alarm, and being done with the project, really, like not letting it stretch. Like when this call is over at 11, I have to leave at 12 for that 3.1 listing appointment, 12:15. But in that time, I've got to get out a strategy email about what's the strategy for marketing this man's $3.2 million property and what are the timelines. And then he gave me another property that he's thinking of listing that he wants comps on. These are a little bit more complicated because they're commercial properties, like 6 townhomes that are going to be built and are already approved, pricing those out, and it's attached to a triplex. And then the other one is, vacant land in a city, a downtown city where there can be high-rise condos. And I love doing it. It's a challenge, but I like doing it when I got a whole day to do nothing and just research the crap out of it, right? But man, when people are putting pressure on you, it means move. What are you two laughing at over there? Like you're Sherry and Kevin, you're both grinning. What's going on?
Because that last week I said comp the crap out of it, and you said
Oh,
you
that's
said,
right. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about Sherry remembered though. That was good. Comp the crap out of it. Okay. James, you've been a little quiet. Suhail, you've been a little quiet. So let's, anybody got more comments on how their week was? Are you finding that you're a little overwhelmed? And if so, it's okay. By the way, did anybody jump on the leadership meeting from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific and hear Casey and I this morning? Nope. Okay. Well, we were in the world, the whole EXP leadership meeting that they hold every Friday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. It's in the world, but it's also on YouTube. It's also on Facebook, and it's also in Workplace. We were
Yeah, Rick, I
honored.
was looking forward to hearing that too. I really wanted to hear you guys. That's every Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that call is every Friday. It used to be called the leadership call, and to ramp up attendance, it started about a little over a month and a half ago. They started bringing on 2 people, one to talk about attraction and one to talk about productivity. And the very first call was Curtis Johnson about productivity, and of course Brent Gove about attraction. And it really got so much kudos that now they're doing it every single week. So they've just created a program for EXP called Level Up. And it's got a picture of a rocket ship with EXP written on the side to help all agents rise to the challenge of this new market we're in. And so they're calling them Motivational Monday, something Wednesday, and Fire Friday, Winning Wednesday. I forget what it is. And they're going to be doing these things for everybody in the company on those days. They're trying to do over 200 events in the United States in the next 12 months that are little events for agents to plug into, to be able to, everything's going to be about productivity and such. That the Build conference that I would really highly encourage you all to go to in Dallas, that Brent Gove personally puts on, not EXP, pays for it out of his pocket, pays Tony Robbins to be there. Last year, there was one small section about productivity and everything else was about agent attraction. And what they're saying this year is every single speaker will talk about both productivity and agent attraction, which means everybody should be going to this, not just people wanting to build an organization like last time. So I highly encourage you. There are still tickets for sale. I'll put the URL into the chat group. It's, yes, it costs a little money to get there. It is very well worth it and going to be a great investment. And if you really want to make it an investment that pays you back, when you get there, work the room. All right. Put 5 cards in your front pocket every day and commit to getting into 5 really good relationships. Don't just pass them out. Only give them to people that you said, hi, how are you? My name's Rick Jiha. I live in the Northern California area. How about you? Right. And then they say, oh, I live in this area right around Louisville, Kentucky. Awesome. Do you know what? I don't have a referral partner in the Louisville, Kentucky area. Would you like to be my referral partner in that area? Yes, I'd love to. Great. May I have your card and I'll stay in touch with you. In fact, before the end of the day, I'll text you. And let me ask you one more thing. Do you have a referral partner in Northern California? Oh, you don't? How can I apply for that job? Did you hear that? Like, that's not something I just thought of, or I wouldn't have been able to say it like that, right? That's something that you can be doing at every single event so that when you get back and get a referral, the entire event's paid for. The entire event just got paid for, right? So I want you to consider that when you're thinking about this is this an investment in the future of my real estate sales business? So, all right, good stuff. Now, let's go. I still didn't hear from Suhail or James. Suhail, do you want to jump in, my buddy?
Thank you. I'm behind on my coaching course. Aside from being a realtor, I'm also a flipper. So I was tied up with a property that I'm buying. And anyway, I got catching up to do on my coaching course.
Oh, nice. So your coaching course for being a flipper, or this course?
This one.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. Okay, good. And where are you geographically?
I live in Cerritos, which is on the border of LA County and Orange County.
No, I know right where it is. Yeah. Beautiful area there.
Thank you. Yeah, most of my business is in Orange County, but I also go into LA County, a little bit into Riverside.
Okay.
Where the customer goes.
Nice. Good for you. All right.
For those that are in SoCal, also started a home remodeling business. I'm a little bit of interior designer, so I do stuff for myself and for clients. If you have any sellers or buyers that would benefit from home remodeling, happy to help.
All right. Well, I put the, thank you very much, buddy, for speaking up. And I did put the link for the build event in there. And I think definitely worth your while if you're not going. James, not saying anything. Colin, you want to jump in, my friend?
For sure. So I'm a big talker, but also I'm a big listener too. So this week was probably the hardest week for me to get my points, just because we're kind of going through, we're like, what, 5-6 weeks in, something like that. So I
7.
made kind of like 7. So I made like all the easy calls and like all the easy letters sending out to people. And now it's kind of getting to the nitty gritty where I have to kind of get creative a little bit. And then also something that I struggle with is all the follow-up calls that I have to make. So it was definitely the most difficult week for me, for sure.
Nice. Well, thank you for being honest. So one of the things, Colin, that I shared on a call, yesterday, it wasn't a call, it was an actual coaching call. And we were talking, this guy owns three Remax brokerages in Hawaii. And he also runs a sales team. And I was talking to his sales team, and we talked about that committed lead generation time. And I said, obviously that I always like to coach 1 hour a day, minimum 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. And the reason we say minimum of 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, so that if you on Tuesday do 3 hours, you don't get to say, I get to take Wednesday and Thursday off. You get it? So it's a minimum of 1 hour per day, 5 days a week. But most of the time, honestly, this is for all of us here, including me, nobody's going to do an hour a day, 5 days a week. 99.9% of the people will not. So I start presenting, I know where I was. I was speaking to the state of Iowa in the world yesterday at 7 a.m. California time. And I said that, I said, a lot of people commit to doing lead generation time in this little block. Maybe it's 30 minutes, okay? But the calls that they actually make are not truly lead gen calls. They're lead follow-up calls. Now, I want you all to pay attention to the calls you make. And are they really lead generation calls, or are they lead follow-up calls? And how do you know that? Only you know that. If you already talked to them and they were so excited to hear you and they're like, yeah, we're going to do something, just not right now. That if you go call them back, that's lead follow-up. And you know why we lean on lead follow-up calls? Because they're comfortable. People like you already. They're good. They're not going to hang up on you. Lead generation calls are uncomfortable. And when I talk to go ahead, Colin, what were you going to say?
So I feel like I'm a little different in that, because I'm weak at the follow-up. I like the first interaction. So one of my pillars is for sell by owners. And I don't know why, but sometimes I can just get a real good hook, get a good conversation with them. And then like that second, third call follow-up, I just kind of just fall apart.
What?
Yeah,
Dude, you have a good first
I don't
call?
know why.
And my problems with FSBOs is the complete opposite. I can't get a good, decent first call. Let's switch places. So good for you that you get a first call. And here's the cure. This is what my wife had to beat into me as a real estate recruiter that I didn't get. But her and Letitia and Beth, being in that network marketing company that they've been in for years, they were never allowed to leave a phone call or a conversation or a text exchange without scheduling the next step. Before we go, let's set a time for us to talk again. Well, no, you said, Mr. Seller, you're going to hold your own open house this weekend. And what I'd love to do is have a conversation with you immediately following that to find out how'd you do and what can I do to assist you in getting your home sold while you're still selling it by owner. right? Maybe that's my line. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like nobody. So when I'm talking to a recruit, if Casey's anywhere in the house where her ears are perked up and she doesn't hear me set a follow-up, oh my God. She comes out with whips. All right. But what I'm saying is that has become vital now in my listing business. What would you, Mr. Seller, thank you so much. What would you like to see our next steps from here? And if there's silence, I go, okay, can I suggest something? Sure, Rick, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and email you as soon as we hang up the comparable information that I just shared with you. What I'd like you to do is review it, and then I'll give you a call tomorrow. Would that be all right with you? Oh, sure. Great. Morning better or afternoon? Afternoon. Great. 3 or 4? See how that, and then I'm done. Oh, 4 o'clock. Perfect. Thank you. Now I've got my follow-up set. How did that sound, Colin? I know it sounds almost canned, but could you use it?
No, I definitely like that approach, just to be able to make it more comfortable, and they know you're going to call them, so they're not going to be all, because typically they're kind of on the edge, and sometimes, you know, they remember me, or if they don't remember me, or they have an offer, or, you know, they have another realtor going down their
Yes.
throat. So
And
I
aren't all
definitely like
FISBOs,
that.
and aren't all FISBOs going to have a bunch of other realtors talking to them, right?
Yeah.
So do you know how you never get them forgotten? As soon as you hang up, you pick up the phone and record a video with your face and say, Mr. Seller, Mr. FSBO, or for sale by owner, it's me calling. We just hung up the phone. I wanted you to be able to see my face and remind you how grateful I am that you took some time on the phone with me. This is not an easy process that you're going through, but I definitely admire you for the strength for you taking it on, and I want to be here as a resource for you. Great to meet you. I'll be in touch as I told you I would on the phone call today when we hung up, right? So if you send that, Colin, it's tripling the effect, because now they see your face, they see your sincerity. Video is stronger than message anytime nowadays, right? And people say, oh, well, they're older, they do not know. Believe me, even the seniors, the above seniors are embracing video right now. So, okay.
I'll definitely try out the video this week and let you
Okay,
know how
buddy.
it works.
Yeah, nice shirt, by the way. Okay. Sabrina, welcome to the call, my dear. How are you doing? You're on mute. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. My husband has had a knee replacement, so it's taken a lot of my time, and
Ah,
it was done in a different city. So it's
Yeah.
been a progressing situation.
nice. Is that why when you were on mute, it looked like your mouth said, get your own damn oatmeal, honey? No, that wasn't you?
I wish he could get it by himself. We're working on that, though.
Okay, I'm kidding. I didn't hear you say
No,
that.
but thank you,
right.
Rick, for always being here.
No
Appreciate
worries.
it. Thank
No
you.
worries. Yeah. Selena was going to be on again too, but she had, you know, it wasn't her husband, but her mother took a really bad fall, and her mother is pretty healthy, and so she had to drive down to Florida and rescue her. So, all right. Kristen, did you want to pipe up at all and talk a little bit about this desire you have to jump more into the seller side?
Well, I just want to start going towards that area, because with buyers, it seems like I just can't connect with them. Even though I implement the tools that I learn about how to get buyers, how to do follow-up, they always seem to like they ghost me, or they go with another agent. So I don't know where the disconnect come in. So I would just like to switch over to listings, because I hear from a lot of agents that you have more control of your business when you're a listing agent. And then also when you're a listing agent, buyers come to you. You don't have to go search for buyers. So
Yep.
I'm ready to do that.
Okay. And yeah, and Kristen's right here in my backyard, and she's been with us, what, Kristen, 3 years now?
I think going on 3 years.
Yeah. So, and always, you know, single mom, working her butt off in addition to selling real estate, also working on a bachelor's degree, right, Kristen?
Yes.
Yeah. So lots going on in her life, but still committed to these are the hours that I work my real estate business. Remember this, guys. it doesn't matter what else you're doing as long as you've been committed to what days and hours you work real estate. Okay, remember I told you all, not first 8 years I was in the business, I did a bunch of different jobs all at the same time, but I was building my success in real estate at the same time. So often working, like I said, almost 100 hours a week or more sometimes. So it's okay. Just make sure that you're willing to put aside that time, and in that time, wherever you are, be there. Like if that's my other job time, if that's my school time, and if that's my real estate time, be in that time. Okay. So good. All right. Any other lessons from chapter 7 or any chapter previous to that that you want to go over that can assist you in moving forward? Okay, I love that you guys are putting in the group about becoming each other's referral source. This is where it starts. And if you go to these events, it's a way to extend it. All right, it's a way to extend it. So keep that in mind when you get there. Go ahead, Sherry.
I'm just wondering if everybody on the call did the DISC profile, and if they did, if they wouldn't mind telling what they were and what they are in the business. So I'm a little curious about,
Natural versus adapted.
Not so much not so much that, because the adapted is where we're going to show up on this call and in our business. But I would like to see, how many people, what they are, and then if they're on a team or if they're a team lead, kind of get an idea of where they fall on the DISC scenario. I'm just curious more than anything, if you don't mind.
I'm a SC, so I score evenly between S and C. And that's interesting because when I first took the DISC, when I got my real estate license, I was a high D.
Oh.
So I don't know even what that means.
Well, a lot of times, Kristen, the statistics around behavioral assessments is what they're called, is that your behavioral style doesn't change unless you go through serious life-changing trauma, like being close to death or having a really traumatic experience with the death of a loved one. Those kinds of things typically don't change. What changes is the way you look at the questions one time versus the next time. And sometimes we find ourselves answering the way we think we want to. Someone might want to hear it versus the way I would truly answer it. It's not purposeful. It's not necessarily based in thought. It's reaction. So it's, like I said, it's nothing's good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just what you're coming up with. But the fact is that the experiences I've had with you is that with a D, you're a buyer. I mean, with your buyers, you're a high D. Okay. And that's probably why you don't know what the disconnect is, because my experiences of you is that the bad experiences you have started to define all the future experiences. And I also know that based on your willingness to be a great customer service agent, that you would excel as a listing agent. And you'd excel as a listing agent for more than one reason. One of them being the biggest difference between working with a buyer and working with a seller is you have a signed contract. Number one big difference, you have a signed contract. All right, they're going to expect a lot out of you, and you're going to expect a lot out of them. All right.
All right.
Nice. Okay, guys, and you guys all do know how to copy the chat group, right? If you click on the chat, it pops up, and then on the bottom right, you see 3 little dots. If you click on those little dots, the very top thing says save the chat. And the reason I want you to do that is there's a lot of names and phone numbers in there today. So, okay. Now, here's the big challenge. Once you click save the chat, where the hell does it end up in your computer? That I can't help you with. Yeah.
It normally pops up a small box and then you can save it to a direct location if you have Mac and you are using Microsoft Office as your operating program. When you hang up, it will just pop up a small box and then you can
Oh,
save.
okay. Cool. And Kevin said it shows up under your documents and then the word Zoom. Is that right? Okay. Thanks, Kevin. All right. And I think that's what, on a Mac, Kevin? Yeah, that wouldn't be on a PC, right? So, all right. Tom, go ahead, buddy.
Can you hear me okay? Am I, okay,
Yeah.
good. I want to jump in on the disc thing because there's a part of this that I love what you said, Rick. There's how we see ourselves, how other people see us, and then how we think other people see us. And Rick, as you pointed out, oftentimes we answer questions because we think this is our self-concept of how we either see other people seeing us or how we want other people to see us. And going through the disc, I've been utilizing it for a long time, and I'm actually utilizing another one called Bank, which is very similar, but it's very predictive analysis on why people buy and their buying styles and based on their personality. So it's really informative. But for me, I've been a long time a high D and high I, and I was in communication with a good friend about my relationship. And for those of you who don't know, I just got engaged on the 4th of July, so I'm pretty excited about it. She's amazing. And we kind of hit some rocky patch over the weekend for a lot of different reasons. And it was basically a misunderstanding, but I didn't realize how my disc was, how my high D was communicating. What I was trying to communicate was urgency. What it came across is harshness. And in a relationship, especially an interpersonal relationship, as you know, it's really important how you communicate because it communicates intent. And we give people value by how we communicate, not just the words. If you're familiar with the 7-38-55 rule, 7% being the words only, 38% being how you sound when you say what you say, and 55% being your body language. And that's the most powerful part of any communication. So in talking to a good friend and kind of working this out and like, oh, this and that and the other, we were talking about it, and I used a phrase that I will never use again. And if you want to write this down, you should. The phrase was, in general, I really don't care what people think. And that is a classic D statement. And he started laughing, and I said, why do you say that? And he goes, well, because, you know, it's ironic you say that, because I was talking to another EXP agent in a leadership role about a very similar thing. And ironically, he's got the same personality profile as you, Tom, and he made the exact same statement. In general, I don't care what other people think. And then 2 minutes later, he's saying how he's really focused on agent attraction, and he really wants to build his business, and he really wants to attract more agents. And the irony of his statement hit me like a ton of bricks. And he started laughing, and he went like this, and I realized that I just made the same statement. So words frame how we think about people. Tony Robbins says the most powerful need in the human psyche is to stay consistent with how we see ourselves. So I realized that those words were actually framing my view of myself and thus how I was interacting. So I will never again, I made a commitment right then, I will never again say, in general, I don't care what people think. Even though I might have a hard external shell, and that's how a D likes to show up in the world. How does that work out for you regarding agent attraction, or even more personally, your significant other? So the truth is, I do care about how people think, what people think, and how I show up in the world. So, and it is really driven out of my love for Kelly, my fiance, that I'm like, you know what? I'm changing. I am changing that. I will never say, I don't care what people think. I do care what people think, especially my fiance. And I do care about the agents that I interact with. I do care about my clients. I care about what they think. I care about how I show up to them. Now, am I gonna wring my hands and stay up at night wondering if I got enough likes on Facebook or Instagram? No. But I am gonna show up differently in the world, in that I'm gonna be more intentional about how I communicate, making sure that the bridge to communication starts with me. I take responsibility for that, and adapting my communication so that I'm understood and communicating what I really want to communicate, and not just, I don't care about people.
Yeah. Very good, Tom. That was well delivered, first of all, but more importantly, a story that has your own lesson in it always affects other people more. So thank you for that. Beth Bowles, you had your hand up again?
No, I was taking it down.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, we're coming up on the end of the hour, guys, and I really want to thank, this is the only thing that I've done this. This is our I think, our third or fourth time that I've done ramp since we started this program. And I want to say it's the fourth. And I want to tell you, I have never had this much participation from the group during the calls. It's usually been me talking, and that gets old, especially for me. Can imagine what it gets for you guys. So a couple of things I want to remind you. We're at week 7. We have 5 more weeks to go. When it's over, we're going to have a little rest and start over again. We'll be starting over again right after Labor Day weekend, and that'll take us right around to the beginning of the December. Okay. And then, of course, we'll start up again in the beginning of the new year. Remember that you have to remember, because the workman will remind you when your $149 is up. When you sign up for $149, you get an entire year. I'm generally doing 3 ramp, 3 12-week programs in each year, each 12 months. So you should be able to catch those. But more importantly, well, not more importantly, but equally as important is that those 3 other programs, video training programs in there that we are not going to cover, but you're more than welcome to bring your questions from those onto this call. If they take up more time than ramp needs, then I won't answer them. But if there's time, I will always answer. Several of you are expressing interest in becoming better listing agents. I'm going to encourage you to watch SLAM in order, do the homework assignments, those kinds of things. You will become a great listing agent. We have proof. Thousands of coaching clients have gone through SLAM and increased their real estate listing business by hundreds of %. Okay, so it's a great, great program. If you haven't given it a chance, give it a chance. AMP, which is called Administration Mastery Program. You might say, I don't have an admin. That's okay. Why people watch that when they don't have an admin is to know what's missing in their business. And also when they do get an admin, they had to have watched it before they give it to their admin to watch. Because if they don't, they have no idea what their admin's learning. And when your admin comes to you and says, what about this, that, and the other? And you're like, what? So it's really, really good stuff here. BAM, Buyer Agent Mastery, was done. It was the very first video program that Workman Success Systems did. And late last year, they completely redid it. And it's a brand new 16 video program. And it's an incredible one. And it really is truly mostly focused on the buyer end. That's why it's called Buyer Agent Mastery. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It can teach you how to get more buyers left and right. So definitely want to watch those. Okay. So that's my pitch for today. Next Friday, the 29th, we will be on week 8. So we don't have that much time left, guys. So let's get really wrapped into this so that we can end with a bang. All right. God bless you guys for coming. Love you all. I'll see you next Friday. Oh, and Friday, August 5th is going to be our free Friday coaching call, also at 9 a.m. We've got a great guest speaker, so I'm hoping you guys will tune in. Okay.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, buddy.
Forgive me a quick question. We've got the workbook that we printed out for this. You said you do 3 ramps a year, or 3 ramps a year. So for the 149, we can keep just signing up for each one, right? We have a whole year worth for the 149.
Yeah, you have it for a whole year. Even if you're not getting on, like there is over 150 people, almost 200 people that have never been on a ramp, but have the 149 program. And I'm assuming they watch the videos by themselves or they don't, I don't know. But yeah, once you've got paid your 149, you have all 4 video programs for an entire year. And then you also have the other stuff. Letitia, I know that, what's her name? Selena, maybe you can share it with us. That sent you how to get on the role play calls. Tom, there's role play calls at 9 or 10 a.m. California time, 9 a.m. I think.
9 a.m.
Every Thursday that
Yeah.
Workman does. And there's hundreds of people on that role play call. So if you guys ever want to jump on those you have access to. You've got access to a lot of Workman tools just by being signed up for this. I would also get on the Workman Facebook page. The Workman Facebook page is a great page to be on. Lots of webinars that they do for free for everybody. Really plug in. And remember, if you're involved in some other coaching program, that's great. But if you're not, this is to me one of the best coaching programs out there. So I would use it for sure. Okay,
So do you recommend, Rick, we print out a new workbook for each ramp that we do, or just kind of utilize the old one, or does that up to us?
I personally like using the old one, Tom, because I want to build on where I left off. And every time I've taught it as an agent who also had watched ramp many times before, an individual agent and with my team, I find things that I somehow missed, right? And maybe didn't miss them, but they appear more important to me this time than the last time I took it. You get what I'm saying? So I just like to build on that. But I do know people who print a new one and then they go back and they compare. Well, what I do is I have that same workbook. I use a different color ink each time. So I'm adding stuff that I learned the second time and the third time, et cetera. So, okay.
Cool.
Good
Thank you, brother.
question, by the way. Yeah, no problem. All right. And guys, let me know if you need anything. I'm here. Okay. Take care.
Rick.
Thank
Talk
you,
to
Rick.
soon. Bye,
Check out
everybody.
the recordings on Workmen. They're very, very good if you haven't.
Oh, thanks, Letitia.
Yeah.
Are the recordings on the same page, the Workman page, as when we log in?
Yeah, so you go to ramp, just like we're going to a ramp curriculum. And if you scroll down, it will say like, role play. I've been going to the role play session. I've watched over all of 2021, 2020. And what makes it nice about it is because there's repetition or you're hearing it over and over again. You're like, oh, now I know what, whatever. Now, I know what Ford is. I know what, the one about asking about your El Mama one, or what's agile. They're like all these different like terms that you don't really know, and these tools that they have, and then how you can track them for like your daily success habits and stuff, and how to integrate it into your business. And so you're listening to them coach somebody else, which then you can just apply what they said to your own personal business. And that's the value that I've gotten, is just kind of how to get a lot in a small period of time.
Yeah, good point. Very good, Letitia.
Thanks,
I love
Letitia.
hearing that.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, I got to bounce to my 11 o'clock.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Bye, everybody.